Have you ever noticed that God will let our enemies chase us into his arms? He'll allow fear to run after us so we may defeat it. This is why the presence of God is so essential. Without God delighting my soul, I will look to the world that will soon hold me as a victim of its demands and threats, with no exceptions.
Thanks for joining us on Life Journeys, a podcast about thriving through the worst pain that life brings. With global initiatives threatening big changes to our way of life, we're going to need to activate Jesus' words about mountain-moving faith. Words That Work is the ongoing series on Life Journeys that is rooted in releasing revelational words of faith that will work every time and with everyone. It's about moving the mountains that keep us from the presence and goodness of God. It's about defining our life purpose and identity through encountering Him until we have the power to move the obstacles that are destroying our liberty and hope.
What do you do when you're the victim of unjust treatment? It may affect your finances, your career, your home, marriage, retirement, health, or your peace. With recent threats to nearly my entire retirement savings account by erroneous IRS claims, I had to surrender it to God. Lord, if you let them take it, so be it. I remain in your hands to care for me as you will. My money represents many years of labor, emotional hardships, and sacrifices. It represents my life, that which I have spent preparing for my future. So, Lord, with this surrender, I again give you my life. I entrust my future into your hands eternally. Why not also the few short years I have left? What follows is a small part of the weaponry of the Word and the Spirit that God has given me to overcome in times of unjust losses. John said, "Love not the world, neither the things that are in the world. If any man loves the world, the love of the Father is not in him. For all that is in the world, the lust of the flesh, the lust of the eyes, and the pride of life, is not of the Father, but is of the world." Jesus said, "They are not of the world, even as I am not of the world," speaking of his disciples. And then he said, "And the cares of this world and the deceitfulness of riches and the lusts of other things entering in will choke the word, and it will become unfruitful." James said, "Pure religion and undefiled before God and the Father is this: to visit the fatherless and widows in their affliction, and to keep himself unspotted from the world." Later he said, "You adulterers and adulteresses, don't you know that the friendship of the world is enmity with God? Whosoever therefore will be a friend of the world is the enemy of God." I see a man. He's a warrior and a leader of men. But he's alone in a field where one giant live oak spreads its branches like a king over his domain. The sun is low on the horizon as the man stands under the tree. Against the sun, he's but a black silhouette. He's traveled a long way, and now, alone in the wilderness, thinking of the enemy he must face, he worships and he dances with his God. He's like the one with not a care in this world. If seen by 1,000 others, they would all wonder that, though he is about to engage in another great battle, he looks like a man at peace and with great contentment. He is with his God, and his God is with him. How can any earthly turmoil begin to compare with the glory he carries close by? This man is not moved by any fear of armies or demons or darkness or storm. With tribulation on the horizon, he dances with God. He looks like a man free of any dread, for he is free. No threat, no weapon, and no disaster can overcome him. He is with God, and that's all that matters. He is free of the world. He has not listened to its threats, its problems, or its promises. He has no care for its wisdom or riches or honor. He doesn't look to the world to entertain, excite, or fill him. He is unspotted by it. He does not love it because he has another love. He is not the world's friend, nor is the world his friend. It hates him. But he loves its inhabitants because there is nothing they can give him or take from him that matters. What must it be like to face a man, listen to his incessant rants about politics or money, accomplishments, and injustices, and then not care less about his opinions? What must it be like to be completely unmoved by others' opinions and criticisms and accusations? This man, who is unspotted by the world, doesn't flinch at the prospect that someone might laugh in his face or stab him in the back. It's like he's dead to the world and to demons and to any man. He only hears God because he is completely satisfied and taken care of by him. This man has perfect peace in the face of impending battle because he is unspotted by this world. It hasn't put its hold on him. There is nothing in it that he considers worth having, for his is the riches of God. He's here because he must be, for you, but not for himself. Take what he has, spit on him or mock him and accuse him, and it has no effect because nothing that this world contains is of any consequence to him. He is free. He is courageous. He loves deeply. He waits with great patience. It's because though he is in this world, he is not of this world. It is not his home, his joy, or his source. If you have looked at this man and understood these words, then you know why he dances on the eve of battle. It makes no difference for his own well-being. He has died already to the world, and God is so real to him that his peace is like God's breath in him. He knows that he was created with a thirst for God, and he has learned not to drink from this world's well to taint his soul. It's taken him a long time, a lifetime, but he's learned. Why? It is only because he drinks from the wells of salvation. He is alive in the Spirit. He feels the mighty winds of heaven lifting his soul upward with every stroke of earthly fears and sorrows. He's not of this world, so it doesn't allure him with its delights. He doesn't angrily turn from it with disgust and carnal, religious distaste for men who love the world. You'll see no frown or pointing finger. He doesn't need to hate men to justify his love for God, for he doesn't need men's validation and approval to know he is complete. I want to be this man. I don't want to be disgusted with sinners, but to love them. I may pity them because they can't taste the water that I'm drinking from, but neither do I want to blame them when I fall and put my lips to the wine of this world. I want to be this man. I don't want to fear the words or opinions of any person, be they a close friend, family, or distant neighbor. I want to be this man. I don't want to wonder if I am in the will of God, or have his favor, or have rightly heard his voice. I want to sleep in the storm, run against the wind, and light up the darkness instead of fearing it. I can't if I love the world more than God. Spend more time with the world than with God. Am influenced more by the world than by God. Believe what I see, hear, feel, and taste, and touch more than I believe God. Then I can't be that man. I want to rest in the battle instead of fearing it. But I can't if I'm not unspotted from the world, if I am a friend of the world. and then find myself an enemy of God. Oh, you say the journey is too great. You've lived in the world too long, you say. You have too much love for the world to just walk away. It's too high a mountain to climb, but you can't get there overnight. And here's what you're really saying. If I can't be this man tomorrow, I can never be this man. But this man was a boy once. He didn't become this man overnight. Even Jesus stayed hidden for 30 years before he started walking against the wind. Moses was 80 before he started leading Israel. Joshua wasn't this man until he had followed Moses for 40 years. You can't be this man overnight. But God has been working to move you away from the world all your life. And he's not done with you yet. He hasn't given up on you. Don't give up on him. How do you start? Figure it out. So many times, I have put my headsets on, and just as the music began to softly play, God's presence came down. Delight is one of many words that describes the encounters with him. I know what it's like to be delighted with a new car, a big buck that finally was brought down, or an unexpected financial windfall, but loving God more than the world brings the same sense of delight, only better, more frequent, and it's free. When a man knows how to find the treasure of God in his soul, all that he works for in this world, for a sense of delight and fulfillment and pleasure and accomplishment, is dwarfed in comparison to what God can do. This is why the presence of God is such an essential part of my Christian experience. Without God delighting my soul, I will look to the world that will soon hold me hostage to its demands and threats. It's not unlike the daughter who doesn't know her father's love. So because of her daddy issues, she searches for this world's counterfeits. Sadly, most of us believe in this world's sources of fulfillment more than in God's, often because we simply don't know how to find our delight in him, or because the price is just too high. I have found that it seems like God will let enemies in this world chase us into his arms. He allows fear to run hard after us so that we may defeat it once and for all. Be a man of God. Be a woman of God. That's why you were born. It's your purpose. It's the only way to overcome sin and self with all the fear and anger and impatience and a loveless existence. Find the power to love the world out of the angry, the afraid, the lust-filled person who can't stand the sight of you because you're everything that he thinks he can't be. Find the power to love the men in the world. Be this man, and don't seek the power of the world's desires, or it will destroy your soul. Be a man of God, a man of peace, unspotted by the world.
You can unlock the presence of God in your life. There are revelation principles that remove the mountains, keeping us from joy, hope, peace, and purpose when our world gets turned upside down. Look for these words that work with Pastor Hardica as he shares what has helped him when life got hard. And don't forget to check out his book, The Fortress and the Firebrand, available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. Thanks for listening to Life Journeys. Find new episodes every Wednesday and Saturday. And if you're new to this series, it begins with the September 16th episode.
Have you ever noticed that God will let our enemies chase us into his arms? He'll allow fear to run after us so we may defeat it. This is why the presence of God is so essential. Without God delighting my soul, I will look to the world that will soon hold me as a victim of its demands and threats with no exceptions.